Hello and Merry Christmas from Matt and Mike Pull Focus. I'm Mike.
And I'm not.
And today we're going to be talking about my favourite Christmas film, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, written by John Hughes and directed by Jeremiah Chechik in 1989. The film centres on family man Clark Griswold as he tries to host the ideal Christmas for those closest to him, but nothing seems to go right. So Matt, this time last year we spoke about your favourite Christmas film, Muppets Christmas Carol, which I was more than familiar with, but this was your first time watching Christmas Vacation. What did you think of it?
I really enjoyed it, man, and I just, was one of those movies that I instantly regretted not growing up with, not having grown up with, because, it was just hilarious, man. It was just great, and it kind of felt like an amalgamation of loads of different styles of comedy, kind of like in the same thing, but, in terms of like the slapstick, and it's like character comedy, it's kind of like a sitcom kind of vibe to it. And, it was just, it was great, and I knew Chevy Chase from Three Amigos and from... I think that was it, actually. I think Three Amigos, because he wasn't in that. Because the only other National Lampoon movie I'd seen was Animal House. Oh, okay. Because that was John Landis's first, one of his, I think his second movie ever, and I'm a big John Landis fan, so I'd sort of check that out. Really enjoyed it, man. It was really cool.
I think he had a role in Caddyshack, I think, as well, if you've seen that, but I haven't seen that.
I haven't, no. Oh, okay. That's the one
a
with...
blind spot for both of us.
Yeah,
a rarity.
Another massively hyped movie, people love Caddyshack, don't they? Is that the one with Bill Murray?
Yeah, I think he has a bit part, but yeah.
And have you seen Spies Like Us?
I haven't seen that either.
That's another John Landis movie that I need to watch. I haven't seen, but that's Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase in that, and they're playing I
think I've seen it being spoofed in Family Guy, but I haven't seen the original.
Yeah, well, you two gentlemen have a Pepsi. Yeah, I think that's a bit from it. It's one of those movies that you kind of know already, even before you've seen it, because of all the, there's a huge amount of references, mainly from Family Guy, and probably The Simpsons as well has probably referenced it at some point.
Well, saying that, did you pick up on any references that this had on pop culture, like the Christmas Vacation kind of references anywhere?
I think the granddad with the cigar, or uncle or whatever he was, I think I'd seen him sort of spoof before, but not directly. There were no gags from it that I recognised, and maybe something to do with the Christmas lights. I might have seen that before somewhere, but not really. It all felt pretty fresh to me. Okay,
because in my family, the term Griswold house is used when we see a house that's just completely done up with lights, and sometimes when my parents or my family used to host other parts of my family, we were known as the Griswolds because we always tried to get everything perfect. And this holds a special place in my family, similar to how Muppets Christmas Carol did with you and your brother.
But it would sort of immediately go on Christmas morning, just no matter what. It would always just be playing in the background.
Not even then. It was when the Christmas tree gets put up. We always decorate the tree, and Christmas Vacation's on in the background.
But that's what I love so much about watching these movies, is hearing about other people's family traditions and things, because I would valued mine so much in terms of as in the Muppets Christmas Carol and stuff like that. That was just such a sort of an integral part of our Christmas day. Yeah. So to hear about you and your family doing that, I just love that stuff.
Yeah, it became an annual tradition, and I'm trying to carry it on even though I don't live there anymore. Every time I put the Christmas tree up, I make sure Christmas Vacation's on.
It's almost impossible not to, isn't it? I think it's I know for a fact that this Christmas Day, even though I don't live with my parents anymore, I will be put on Muppets Christmas Carol on Disney Plus immediately when I get up, just out of habit. It's just got to be on. I've got to hear the Scrooge song, "There Goes Mr. Humbug." It's just got to be playing as we open presents. So it's really sweet, and I felt that warmth from it, and I felt I could totally understand why people loved it so much. I think for me it was that kind of thing where it was so hyped, and it was this movie that couldn't be more held in a better regard. It couldn't fail to kind of fall short on certain elements of it, because I just been told it was the second coming, So and I've suffered that a lot with other movies that people loved, things like The Butterfly Effect, what other movies that I've been introduced to.
That's an odd one to choose, but I imagine that that the most overhyped film that you've ever seen? Is it
one of them? Yeah. Boyhood was another.
Oh, okay, I can see that.
Movies that people said this is the best movie ever, and you're and don't get me wrong, I'm sure I've been guilty of that that as well. Like, when There Will Be Blood came out, I like toured it round with my friends and told them it was the best movie ever made, and that's like the worst thing you can say about any film, isn't it, before you show someone. And as a consequence, I deliberately try to underhype everything now, even if I'm really excited about it. I try
apart from on this channel, of course.
Apart from on this channel, obviously, yeah, exactly. But that's hopefully what people come here for. But
True.
but yeah, no, with other people, including yourself, actually, I just try not to, you know what I mean, like, because I feel that it's the same with music as well. If like someone says it's the best album ever made, it can only fall short.
It can only disappoint. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then would you say that this disappointed on a few parts for you?
Just in some fairly kind of, and again, I don't want to be that, over-analysing, a movie like this, over-analysing comedy, but the elements where I thought it kind of fell down was just the fact that, I guess the idea is that he's like a clumsy, sort of cartoonish character, sort of slightly surreal character, and then Uncle, what's his name, comes along, played by Randy Quaid, and he comes along, and it's kind of like, he's just as weird as Clark is.
Oh, you reckon?
So yeah, okay. I didn't feel that. For example, like when he kind of looks at his wife and goes, "Oh, here we go. Here's Uncle Eddie." It's like, well, you're as bad as he is already.
No, you can't have thought that.
For me, no, I did, and I know that they're both family men. They're both adorable. They're both kind of slightly clumsy, and one of them's slightly lower class. I guess that's the joke, isn't it? But for me, that's where that fell short, because it's not like, if you had, for example, Steve Martin, Father of the Bride. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that. He was very straight, very kind of down to earth, very normal. If he'd been in that character, like in that position, and then Uncle Eddie shows up, that would have made more sense to me. But, the way that when he showed up, I just kind of thought, well, these guys should probably get on really well, because they seem like really similar people. Oh, okay. Do you know what I mean? Like that. So that kind of the comedy there, I didn't think, I was supposed to be like, oh, here comes trouble. This is where the Christmas suddenly gets ruined. And I was like, well, Christmas has been pretty shambolic already. Like, what's the difference? You know what I mean? Now Uncle Eddie showed up.
That's the thing. Yeah, I always thought like he was trundling along. He was making it work to the best of his ability. But then when Eddie comes along, it's so unexpected that it's just like another wrench in, like a monkey wrench in the system that like makes him feel like, oh god, now it's going to be unsalvageable, and he's having to contend with the entire house. And like, yeah, you're probably right. Like it's kind of like an affluent neighborhood or suburb that they're in, and then cousin Eddie's like gigantic trailer, it just looks absolutely horrible compared to the rest of it. Just I kind of see where you're coming from.
I think it was that Clark's not aware of his shortcomings. He doesn't seem to be regretful about the clumsy, dangerous things that he does. Yeah. So the fact that Eddie comes along who's similarly clumsy and dangerous doesn't seem like, much of a hindrance to him almost. You know what I mean? It's like that was kind of where that sort of didn't really work for me, because I was just like, this is not the worst thing that's happened to you. Like, you've done terrible, for the last half an hour, you've been doing awful things and, and hurting yourself and hurting other people and hurting the neighbours. And he's like, he is kind of blissfully unaware of it, I suppose.
He does. I haven't actually thought of it before like that, but
yeah. That's where my criticism ends, really. I think it's just traits like that where I just thought this writing doesn't really, or this characterisation doesn't really work for me as a comedy punch, because,
that's a shame, but
as I said, like, I keep noting like Father of the Bride, but when you have that Steve Martin character who's completely played straight and he's kind of like, very cynical and, down to earth, then you have like Martin Short comes into it and he's completely flamboyant and ridiculous. That, it's cats and dogs, it's that kind of thing where that is funny because there's conflict there. Yeah. But when Uncle Eddie showed up, I just thought, oh, he's just a really nice, well-meaning, slightly stupid guy. He doesn't. I think he doesn't wish him any harm. I think that was the other thing. Eddie's not just shown up to deliberately ruin his Christmas or anything. You know what I mean?
No. So he's got a heart of gold as cousin Eddie. But I feel like when the way I see it is that like, fair enough, Clark is being clumsy and he's getting like hit in the face by the attic stairs, and he's falling off the ladder and stuff like that. But that's happening because it's coming from a good place. He's trying to have the best Christmas possible. Even at the beginning, when he's flipping off the guys in the truck, the comedy comes from the fact that he has been like setting up himself for failure in a way, because he's hyping it up so much that it's never going to make it. as his ideal Christmas, and he keeps stumbling over this because he's trying to be quiet on the stairs. He's trying to put all the lights on with his nail gun up on or the staple gun, sorry, up on the roof. But like Eddie comes along and he's just kind of oblivious to the fact that when he breaks the windmill that's near the eggnog and stuff. He doesn't care about it because he's just like, he doesn't really get it. And yeah, I think they're kind of like messing or like poking fun at his intelligence compared to Clark's. But I don't know. I feel like it's always been such a relatable film that I didn't really get until I was like turning around 25. And I went from being in the mindset of like the kids being annoyed having family around or finding Cousin Eddie funny just because he's so like a slob. But then, like, it's become, I'm in the mindset of Clark, and it's like, God, yeah, I would want everything to be going right, and yet nothing is. And it's so frustrating. I just
needed that scene. I needed that scene where Clark kind of went into the cupboard and cried or something. I needed to see
I don't think that would have made that funnier.
Well, for me, that would have shown that there was stakes to it. There was kind of like, there was something that... And I know maybe it's just not that type of film. Maybe I was just expecting, something, more... based in reality, whereas this was more surreal. So it could have been my expectations of it. But I think it was more of a character thing, like, and, for example, when Eddie starts to talk about his, bad financial situation, Clark just goes, well, I can give you some money. And it's like, oh, solved. It just felt there was no stakes, really. I didn't feel like anything, you say he wanted to make it a good Christmas, but where was the proof that it hadn't, ever been a good Christmas before? It was kind of like...
Don't you think
maybe it would have been funnier if he'd known that all the previous Christmases had been an absolute disaster, or his wife was going to leave him if he had a bad Christmas, or something. I felt I needed stakes to make it funnier. There wasn't enough at risk.
Wow.
That's my. And again, I'm probably just taking
you want
it
a
way
really
too
dramatic
seriously.
kind of Christmas film, don't you?
Well, I think comedy flourishes with conflict, really, doesn't it? Because it's all about criticism. Comedy. All comedy is critical, so it's kind of like you have to have. That Basil Fawlty kind of, is kind of that concept cranked up to 11, where there's a huge amount at stake.
Yeah.
But
don't you feel like the stakes were if he got his Christmas bonus or not, and the fact that he was putting so much effort and hope into this thing only for it to just crumble?
Well, again, the only reason he wanted the bonus was to pay for the pool. He wasn't in any financial debt that we knew about. Or, feel sorry for the guy. Like, he's a nice guy and he's like, doesn't wish it, But I guess that was, I think, there's a sort of a phrase, and I'm paraphrasing it, but it's something to do with like, comedy is tragedy, but with empathy removed.
Right.
Or something like that, so it's like, there was no real tragedy here, it was just kind of, a bunch of stuff that happened. Me and my friend Jack have this great thing of talking about 80s movies, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, for example. Nothing happens in it. It's just a bunch of stuff. Yeah. It's a bunch of scenes.
Doesn't really matter.
Sketches almost, like just bits. Yeah. Nothing actually happens. And it's like, and it's that thing, it's the kind of, I felt that it was kind of the same thing, and I'm just picking on the negative, here. I really enjoyed it, as a movie. It made me laugh many, many times.
Tell you what, I didn't come into your podcast and insult Muppets Christmas Carol. I swear to God.
Yeah, see, I picked that because I knew you already liked it. But I can't help but be honest about it, because it's just kind of like, I couldn't just come on here and go like, oh, it was amazing. It was the best film ever.
Sure.
It's not the best. It's not my favorite Christmas movie. It's got some hilarious scenes in it, and I think that's why I wish I'd grown up with it. I think it would have been so much better if it was just in my veins, like everyone else. And,
I get that.
I mean, I don't mean this in a condescending way, but do you think it, was funnier when you were younger? I know you still find it, hilarious now, but do you think who is this film for? Do you think? What's the audience, the target audience?
I'd say the target audience is middle class suburban white people, which is what I grew up with, like surrounded by.
That's what Chevy Chase is, all right.
Yeah, sure. I mean that's the target audience, because it, like you say, you're put into the perspective of Clark and his family, and it's their perfect Christmas kind of being ruined by. Yeah, the lower class of Eddie, and not being as affluent as the upper class of his boss, and wanting to reach there but not getting it. It's kind of quintessential John Hughes. It's
Yeah, yeah, because it's written by John Hughes, isn't it?
Yeah, and like it's almost the same house as Home Alone. It's still the same kind of like issues of like white suburbia that like The Breakfast Club had, and just it's quintessential. Yeah, John Hughes. So
I think the scenes that, because John Hughes does always kind of sort of is it teeter or titter on the surreal, like there's moments that go into surrealism, and I think that my favourite bits of this film were the very end, when the boss is kidnapped,
when it gets a bit chaotic.
It's all that kind of it's all kind of like that like way too way too much humility, isn't it? Oh well, I guess we've all learned a lesson here. It's like you've just kidnapped him. Like it was like
when he's reacting
really kind of like he looks like a little petulant child who's been told off. His boss, and I thought that all was brilliant, and I loved it. I loved that because that kind of that felt more like a Family Guy skit or something where it's like the stakes were really high, but nothing. But people weren't reacting the way they should have done. In the same kind of way. So that was actually probably my favourite scene in the whole thing. Was the boss, his comeuppance at the end when he's kidnapped by Cousin Eddie. That was fantastic.
Did you recognise him as being the brother of Bill Murray as well? The boss?
Yes, I
Brian
did.
Doyle
Murray.
Was he in Noah's Arcade?
Wayne's World as well.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, Noah's Arcade.
Noah's Arcade. I love the cast that's in this film. It's absolutely stacked. The fact that like Chevy Chase was like an alum of SNL at the time, and he'd been doing all these like frat pack kind of movies, and then you got like Juliette Lewis and Johnny Galecki, who go on to be like a rock star and like one of the biggest comedy stars of like this past decade with The Big Bang Theory. Like the mum from Everybody Loves Raymond being the grandma, Doris Roberts.
Julia Louis Dreyfus next door.
Julia Louis Dreyfus
in Seinfeld.
Yeah. And did you spot who Aunt Bethany? Well, I mean, did you recognise her voice, Aunt Bethany?
I did, and I was saying to Sal, I was like, "Who's that? Like, I know that voice. Was she in a Pixar movie or something?" Or?
No, she was the voice of Betty Boop, like the original Betty Boop. Yeah.
Wow.
It was her last film as well before she passed away.
Oh, no way. That's amazing.
She had just done the voice for Betty Boop in Who Framed Roger Rabbit before she did the filming for this.
I love
How weird's that?
And her appearance as the character, in Betty Boop in Who Framed Roger Rabbit is one of my favourite scenes in that, about talking about their, cartoons going into colour and all that. I just love the aesthetics of that scene. So, that's a really cool fact. I knew I recognised her voice, and I just assumed it was like, but my mind went to Pixar immediately. I thought, is she Bo Peep or something? I just like, she must be someone that I know. But wow, amazing. That's I really want to rewatch it now.
Yeah, you'll notice it. I just feel like she's such a quintessential elderly grandma who doesn't know what the hell's going on. The fact is Rusty still in the Navy and stuff like that. This is bigger than your old house. No, she's a great character. When she starts doing the Pledge of Allegiance or saying Grace died 30 years ago. Oh, there's so many like quotable lines.
That scene in the dinner table, and then they just all echo Amen. They just let it slide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Again, those were my favourite scenes, and one of the best bits of slapstick is where when he opens the attic.
With the attic, the attic ladder goes straight into his face. Oh,
yeah, it's so simple and just like, but that that was those bits that were almost like sort of what would you call it, like Warner Brothers cartoons, the sort of like Wile E. Coyote cartoons or something. Just extreme pain, physical pain.
It always gets me every time. It's probably my biggest laugh of the entire film, and I know it's coming. I know it's like so sudden, but it's just like how hard it hits him in the face. I could just be going on like this entire like podcast could be just like me just talking about certain moments in the film and how much I really just find them funny. But like,
well, it's those small moments that kind of you play them over and over in your head so much, especially for movies that you love and stuff. But also, I just love the fact that he just falls at the first hurdle as well. He's just trying to go up to the attic and it hits him in the face with a deadly blow. Yeah, it's just amazing. But the scene at the end, when it was sorry to interrupt, when it was getting too sentimental, when he was watching all the old black and white movies, and then he just falls through the ceiling.
My dad did that once. He was walking in the attic and he stepped through and like fell through the ceiling of my bedroom and like fell into my bedroom like feet first. It was ridiculous.
Were you playing like GoldenEye at the time?
I wasn't even in the house. I came back and there was like holes in my roof. I was like, what the hell happened here?
Did he just tell you straight up? What
Yeah,
happened,
it
or
was
did he
just like,
try-
yep, fell through well, not the asbestos,
ceiling.
but like the ceiling, the attic filling that was in there. Good lord, yeah.
Did he add again afterwards? That would be a great end to that. Fell through the attic again.
Again,
You know, like in Dumb and Dumber, it's like, how's your day, Lloyd? Oh, not bad. Fell off the jetway again.
like it's happened
more than
before.
once.
Yeah. No, but I mean, my entire family, well, like my immediate family, like my dad, my mum, my sister, and I are like referred to as the Griswolds by like members of my larger family. So like when that happened, I was like, oh my god, my dad is Clark Griswold. This is insane.
Oh, that's great. What an honorary title.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, I suppose it's very relatable, isn't it? Like that family unit. Like you see yourself in most of the characters, depending on what age you are.
Well, yeah, I think I was like Russ's age the first time I watched it. So I was like about what, like 10, 11, 12, something like that when I was first introduced. So yeah, I was getting like, and just like every year I was finding myself more familiar with like Russ's role, and like the fact that when my dad would ask me to come and help him like unjangle lights or put up Christmas decorations, I was just like, oh god, I really don't want to do this, but like you got it for the house. It was kind of
you got to take
again
one for the
white
team.
suburbia, the trappings of that kind of life. Yeah.
There's nothing funnier than the sort of, dad, like, leading the son to do a task, because it's kind of like the blind leading the blind, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, come on, son, like let's do this really simple thing.
Yeah.
And, it's always going to end in tears. Can I ask you a little bit about can you tell me about the franchise a little bit? Because so when I started talking to people about having watched this, they were like, oh, have you seen, Vegas Vacation? Have you seen Vacation?
Yeah.
And all these other movies in the National Lampoon franchise. As I said, I've seen Animal House, which I know is from the same, comedy troupe. But can you tell me a bit about Vacation? Have you seen any of the sequels?
Vacation.
And what order they came in?
Well, Vacation was first. That was a bit too risque for me to watch when I was a kid, when I was first introduced to Christmas Vacation. So I think I was a bit older, maybe like 15 or something, when I first got shown that one. But essentially,
so Christmas Vacation is more of a family-friendly movie, is that fair to say?
It was the sequel to Vacation. It was the first sequel, I believe.
Right, okay.
Vacation, they go from their house in, I think, Chicago to this like fictional theme park called Wally World. And it's like got a mascot of like a moose as Wally, I think, and like the entire thing is just like a road trip movie.
Hence the moose glasses.
Exactly, yeah. When you mentioned the moose glasses, I was like, that's a tie into a previous film. But then there's a European vacation. They go to like France and Germany and stuff like that, and like they get stuck on the Arc de Triomphe roundabout and like struggle to come off for ages because they're trying to like. Anyway, yeah, that's a hilarious moment.
And are they good movies? You hold them in the same regard?
I think I may have seen them like once each and felt like I didn't really need to again. I don't.
Yeah, okay.
It's probably just like the Christmas appeal for this one, which
the family. It was
the more wholesome.
And it's so rooted in your Christmas experience, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. If I had seen probably Vacation every I don't know, every July 24th or something like that. We had like a thing that was like, oh yeah, that's a nice vacation movie, but like, yeah, it was nothing similar to the Christmas one. And then like Vegas Vacation was like much later. I think it was about like a decade later. Essentially they just go to Las Vegas and lose loads of money, and that's like, oh, the stakes of that one. There is actually,
and they're all family, so it's the same family, the Griswold.
Different actors, but I say different. It's just the kids change from movie to movie, I think. But it's always Beverly D'Angelo and Chevy Chase as the main two. Yeah. There's actually a sequel to this, Christmas Vacation 2. It's set on Cousin Eddie's private Hawaiian island or something like that, and it is god awful, absolutely. One of the worst films I've ever seen. It was like 2003 or something, so like a good 14-15 years after this was made. Just trying to cash in.
Randy Quaid's last paycheck, was it?
Essentially, yeah. I think it went straight to DVD or something. It was absolutely awful, and
oh dear.
Yeah, when I watched it, I was like, oh, this could be. Oh no, it's tarnishing the memory of the original by him playing the same. I mean, like Cousin Eddie's in like all of the Vacation. Well, maybe not the European Vacation, but he was in the first one, and then he meets. The audience meets Catherine and Ruby Sue and Rocky, and then it moves on, and you see them again.
That could kind of solve my issue then, because I suppose when Eddie turns up in this movie, the audience should know who he is.
Not necessarily.
And I didn't know who he was.
I didn't first time. I hadn't seen National Lampoon's Vacation until like my 6th or 7th time watching it. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, Eddie's in this one. Oh, I understand why Clark's now very hesitant to host him in Christmas Vacation. But at the time, I was just like...
Maybe as a kid, because it was kind of new to you, when you were introduced to it, the idea of like having a bumbling, like uncle or whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, as an adult watching it, maybe having that, like that sort of wah, wah, wah moment, here's Uncle Eddie, oh dear, because I would know what he was like from his, maybe that moment would have more of impact. I might try and watch Vacation and then watch this again and see if it, if that works, because yeah, I can only think, I mean, if it is a sequel and there are references, like you said, with the moose cups and everything, then they are to be enjoyed in that way, I suppose.
Yeah. And it was actually remade. The first Vacation film was remade a few years ago. Ed Helms playing the Chevy Chase role. And
no way.
Christina Applegate playing his wife. And essentially it's the reboot of the first one, essentially. It's like them going
and what was it called? Was it called National Lampoon's Vacation?
No, National Lampoon, just called Vacation.
Ah, okay, fair enough. Any good?
It got mixed to positive reviews.
All right,
to sound like a Wikipedia article, but I personally haven't seen it. My parents have, and they said that they enjoyed it, but it wasn't as good as the original. So, yeah. I
mean, I should obviously prioritize the original. Maybe give Vegas a skip. I don't know. What do you think?
Vegas was enjoyable, but it wasn't necessarily anything I needed to see again. So yeah. One thing that I do like about this film, that's like stuck with me, is like anytime there are like classic Christmas songs from America being played, I just recognize it instantly from this film, because it manages to get in about, I'd say, 10 different Christmas songs all the way through this film. And yeah, I wouldn't have recognized them without it, probably. Like I just had a Christmas quiz with work today, and the fact that I knew like Dean Martin's Let It Snow may have been because of Die Hard, but
maybe
but like so many other ones, I was able to just go, oh, it's this from it's like Frank Sinatra. It's all the, I can't think of them now because off the top of my head, but it's got so many.
Well, that's another thing.
Songs.
It's your first exposure to these things as well. That's probably another thing is like if you watch it again, if you grow up with this movie, it's the first time you're hearing these Christmas classics, so you can't separate them from this material, can you? That's the thing. So all this great music from Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, it's all associated with this. So like that's another kind of power that it has.
It's weird to think that like there isn't seemingly like a British kind of Christmas film. Like I'm so used to the idea of the typical American one because of movies. I'm like the typical American like Christmas music from like the 50s and 60s, but we haven't got one that we usually watch from this side of the pond.
I think England kind of like Britain kind of tried to catch up, didn't they, in the noughties with Love Actually? And,
I guess,
I guess that I'm like, what? Yeah, but like now that you mention it, all of the Christmas movies that I love are American. Like,
it's weird, isn't it?
You've got Muppets Christmas Carol, even though it was filmed in Pinewood Studios or Shepperton or wherever. But that was an American production. It's a Wonderful Life was very American.
Yeah.
We got The Snowman.
True.
I guess we had The Snowman, which was like in 1982, so that's fairly in there. But yeah, in terms of feature films, I mean the original Christmas Carol, the one with
the Alistair Sim version.
Alistair Sim, I guess is that a British production? I guess it is.
I think so. Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah, because he was in St. Trinian's and stuff. So yeah, it was a British production. But what would that be? Like the 60s or 50s? But
I think way before. I think 40s or 50s. I think.
Oh really? Wow.
It's pretty ancient. I think in terms of the Alistair, it's black and white, isn't it? So I'm pretty sure it might be 40s. I think it might be that old.
All we had was like, it's The Sound of Music again, or it's Bedknobs and Broomsticks or something, and they became Christmas films just because of their repetition from being on around Christmas Day.
It's weird because the Christmas is associated with sort of the Dickensian, the Dickensian look and the Dickensian setting.
Yeah.
But however, a lot of the movies themselves were American made, so it's kind of like an American made British Christmas.
Yeah.
In terms of like as I said, with the movies being set there. So it's weird. It's kind of it was sort of like American. Well, I suppose a lot of America's traditions come from British things, to be fair.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but I never thought about it till now that how many, and I mean, I don't consider Love Actually a great Christmas movie. I don't really consider it a great movie, full stop. And it's certainly not one that we watch regularly. I'm quite keen on The Holiday. which
The Holiday is my
I'm
mum's
ashamed to say. Oh, okay, good,
Yeah.
right, okay, yeah. I mean, when if you're talking guilty pleasures, The Holiday is way up there. Even I cringe at many moments when I watch it, but I still love it. And but I'm sort of almost so self-aware when I'm watching it. I'm just like, oh, I shouldn't be watching this. I'm like ashamed of myself.
No,
but,
I get it. Okay.
I love that. Muppets Christmas Carol obviously takes the number one spot. It's a Wonderful Life had me bawling for 15 minutes the other day when I watched it straight.
Wow.
I actually was in pain. My eyes were in pain afterwards. I was crying so
dude.
much. It was wonderful. Very, very cathartic.
How about Scrooged? You ever see Scrooged?
Do you know what, dude? I've never seen Scrooge, and
Really?
my best friend, apart from you, watched it recently and said it was amazing.
Dude,
and he's really recommended it.
Highly recommend it this year. If you get a chance to watch Scrooged, please do so. It's a brilliant film. Bill Murray's one of my favourite Bill Murrays.
Because I said, oh, is it just a kind of a, not a rip-off, but you know what I mean? Is it kind of a production of A Christmas Carol? And my friend was like, yes, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah, it's like a meta version. It's brilliant.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I will definitely watch that. I might even enjoy that more than Christmas Vacation. Who knows?
Well, yeah, it seems to be at the moment, yeah.
Sorry.
Which is I understand. But I prefer Bill Murray to Chevy Chase as well, so yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but here's the kicker. This is one that's been going around, obviously, since it was first released. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
No.
On the record. No.
No, it's
Scandal.
not. It's not. I mean, it's not. What a Christmas movie, the definition of a Christmas movie, I'd say, is one that has a moral... it's a morality tale set at Christmas time.
No bigger moral tale than Die Hard. I mean, just in the face of terrorism, fight it. And, don't give in to fear.
I just walked into my own definition there, didn't I?
Yeah.
That's so yeah. Okay, go on then. Yeah, it's
Yes,
yeah, it must be. Yeah,
welcome to our
it's
side.
a moral tale. It's a morality tale set at Christmas time.
You've got Christmas
and
trees.
It ends with a Christmas tune.
You do, yeah. You got snow. You got ho ho ho. You got everything you need to need. Yeah. It wasn't snow, but it's like paper being blown down from the top of the building. But still,
let me turn this canon of self-examination around at you, Michael. Is Batman Returns a Christmas movie?
I'd say yes, because there is enough. Because I'd say there's enough Christmas-related paraphernalia throughout the film to make it so. I'd say.
Okay, and it's also set at Christmas as well, so I suppose you could,
I'd say if you want something to be a Christmas film, you can have whatever you want to be a Christmas film. I mean, Iron Man 3 is set at Christmas. You can have that to be a Christmas film if you want. I mean, like nearly everything that Shane Black does is set at Christmas because he's got a weird fascination with the thing. But that notwithstanding, you could, whatever you want. I don't think you should allow anyone to tell you that something that you consider a Christmas film isn't a Christmas film.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, like with the Die Hard script, it must have been written at Christmas and not something that's that's retrofit. It's not been like put there. It's like it must have been in the script. I have a machine gun, ho ho ho.
It was meant to be released at Christmas. It was just delayed by the studios to be like exactly. It's Arthur's Christmas party, and it was that I've heard like the biggest argument being like, oh, it was released in June or July, therefore it can't be a Christmas movie. That was done by the studio just because they didn't think it was going to sell at Christmas, so they moved it into the action blockbuster season.
That just shows that everyone has their own definition, doesn't it, of what a Christmas movie is? Because like someone will say, is it released at Christmas? Is it set at Christmas? Has the moral story got anything to do with Christmas? In terms of, is it actually like, because obviously Christmas Carol is the ultimate story that isn't moral. I can't think of the phrase. Is it a moral conundrum or a
morality tale?
Morality tale, to do with the Christmas holiday. Or the Christmas celebration, whatever you want to call it. It's difficult. I suppose there's three that we've come up with three definitions of what a Christmas movie is. Something like A Christmas Carol probably fits
because
into
we are
all
the gatekeepers
categories.
of these things.
Yeah,
these are our three rules. We've kind of derailed our conversation about Christmas Vacation, but still, go on. You were going to say about our three rules.
I think we can both agree that National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is a Christmas movie.
Yes, of course it is, yeah.
It has Christmas in the title.
Yes, same with like Elf, Scrooged, Love Actually, yeah.
Yeah, The Holiday.
The Holiday, exactly.
Thank you. To get it in there. Flying my little holiday flag.
Obviously.
Here with shame.
So after all that, would you say that you'd watch Christmas Vacation again?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, after this conversation, I want to watch it more or less immediately.
Wow,
because
good. I'm glad
because you
that's
pointed
the
out
case.
things that I think I didn't, register the first time round and stuff. So it's just made me like, have
That's
it.
the
But I'm
thing.
saying that I'd like to watch Vacation, then watch Christmas Vacation.
I understand that. That's the thing about like us doing these remotely is the fact that I would love to sit there with you and watch these films and be like a proper nerd and say, that's the voice of Betty Boop, or that guy was in 12 Angry Men, or, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that would actually make the experience better. I mean, like, because I think that you sort of feed off that enthusiasm as well, don't
Exactly,
you? Tell
yeah.
someone's really into something. Has it, in fact, been... I mean, when did we last watch a movie together? I don't even think it was this year.
Yeah, I don't think we
Was
have this
it?
year, have we now?
The last recording we did together, like in the same room, was in February, I think.
Yeah.
I think obviously before the pandemic kicked off. So it's probably been... Was it Brick, actually? I think Brick was the
Yeah, I
last
think
thing
it was
we watched.
Brick, yeah. Which we
which is
will
awesome, by the way.
eventually, hopefully, get a review out for. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But not before the Flintstones Viva Rock Vegas. Remember, we've got to do that one first.
Do we have to?
I may be joking.
I hope you are. So that's all from Matt and myself today, so thank you for joining us. Let us know in the comments below what your favourite Christmas movies are, and most important of all, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? It definitely is. If you'd like to hear more from us, subscribe to our channel and be sure to like this video. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter by searching for the name Matt and Mike Pull Focus. Say Merry Christmas, Matt.
Merry Christmas, Matt.
And that's Merry Christmas from me too. See you all in 2021.
Can only be better.